What's up, what's up, what's up? It's your man, Chaz Ellis, once again, answering the question that you asked me. Now, a lot of ladies ask me, how do I avoid getting played? How do I stop myself from getting used and abused by guys? Give me some information. Well, I'm going to help you to keep yourself from getting played ever again. And one of the biggest things you have to do is study the product and study the market. Now, what does that mean? I'll give you an example. Say I told you I am going to be selling a brand new bright red Ferrari. And I'm also going to be selling a used minivan. Now, which one of those is going to be easier to sell? Most of you probably would say, duh, brand new bright red Ferrari. But what I didn't tell you was that the customer is a younger couple who just had quintuplets. Right. They got too many kids to get a damn Ferrari. Where are they going to put the kids? On the roof? So that vehicle really isn't worth much to them. It's very difficult to sell. Now, if I was to tell you that the customer was a college student who had the money, or his parents wanted to buy him a car and he could get whatever he wanted, red Ferrari. He wouldn't be caught dead in the minivan, right? So it depends on the people. Depends on who you're selling the vehicle to. So that's going to make a big difference. So you got to look at your market and you got to look at your product. Now, what does that have to do with me? You're probably saying, what does that have to do with being in a relationship? What does that have to do with me looking for somebody? I don't see myself as a car. Don't compare me to that. Well, as I said in the other video before, you know, we are all salespeople selling a product that is ourself. All right, we all have to sell ourselves. There is so much competition out there in the world nowadays that if you're not selling yourself, you're missing out. If you're not doing your market research, you're missing out. Now, here's the thing. Whenever I talk about research, whenever I talk about putting in the effort, people always get a little crinkled up in the face because it's dating. And they're like, I shouldn't have to play these games and it shouldn't be so hard. But didn't you study when you were in college? If not, you probably didn't do very well. You probably weren't Phi Beta Kappa. You probably didn't graduate cum laude. So, you know, you got to think, this is the most important decision that you'll ever make in your life. The person you're going to spend the rest of your life with. That's going to last long after your job. If you make the right decision and it's done right, it'll last long after your job, long after whatever college you're going to, even, past when you're raising kids. So it's something you really got to take to be important. Now, so when you're looking at the market and you're looking at your product, you have to really study who and what you are. You have to realize that if you're selling that same minivan to two different people, you're going to have to sell it in two different ways. You might be selling the minivan to a couple that's got 3 or 4 kids and they just want to make sure their kids are entertained. So if you got a little entertainment system in the back, stuff like that, plugs and everything where they can put all that little stuff in, they're going to be just stoked about that. Well, another couple, they might just have 2 big ass dogs. And they be like, we need to put our dog somewhere. And you're like, oh, well, these seats come down. You can put these dogs back here. Now they want to buy. Now, what does that matter to you? Well, going back to the Ferrari and the minivan. A lot of people believe that they have absolutely no value. They feel like they have no value. Well, I have nothing to offer. I'm just ugly. I'm stupid. I'm boring. I'm this, I'm that, I'm whatever. They feel like they have absolutely nothing to offer because they've talked to certain people and those people didn't feel like they had anything to offer. Or they felt like, or those people may not have really been just over the moon about them or really super interested. So they assume that this is how everybody thinks. Well, there are different customers. There are different people with different needs. Just because one person thought you were boring and didn't want to deal with you for that reason doesn't mean that every single person that you talk to is going to feel the exact same way. Some people actually like to stay at home. Weird, right? Some people don't want to party every weekend. Now, Some people do. So you might have been kind of left out in the cold because somebody did like to party and you like to stay at home. So you get a person that wants to stay at home, or that may be the market that you're looking for. You might have been left out in the cold because you like to party a lot and other people wanted to stay at home. So you start looking and saying, okay, this is part of what I bring to the table, and I probably need to find somebody that shares that. Not that I have no value because I'm not a certain way, but I need to find somebody that I have value to. Get what I'm saying? Now when we talk about the same product sold in a different way, depending on the situation, you have to play up different things. Depending on who you're dealing with, you might be the same thing. It might be the same thing. You're the same person you were yesterday, but you talk about different things depending on who you're talking to. It just like you would if you're in a group of friends. You know, some of your friends like to talk about sports. Some of them like to talk about fashion. Some of them like to talk about, I don't know, relationships, whatever. People like to talk about different things. So that's what you talk about. If you're talking to your pastor, you're not talking about who you slept with last night. Hopefully not. Look, if you're talking to your pastor about that, you might want to chill for a second. Just, you know, if you're getting counseling or something, that's cool. But if you over here like, dog, you know what I'm saying? I hit that. You can't be doing that with the pastor. You're going to have a different conversation. It's still you, but you're going to talk about different things. You know, so you have to understand that when you're trying to sell your product, you're going to have to sell it in different ways to different people. It's not that the product is any less valuable. It's that different features are more valuable to other people. So if you're like, I am a dynamite cook and I work, I pay my own bills, I'm doing really well, I'm independent, yada, yada, yada. Only one of those things might be important to somebody. And then other things important to someone else. So because you have all of those things going for you, you might need to start talking to that other person, asking some questions to them and figuring out what you need to talk about, what you need to do to put your best foot forward with that particular person. You see what I'm saying? Also, when I talk about market research, okay, first of all, you start figuring out who your market is, just like you would with anything. You know, when they put a show on television, what they do is they say, this is our demographic. This is basically the market that we want to watch this freaking show. Okay? They say this is the market. Then the show comes out, yada, yada, yada. They figure out who is actually watching the show. Now, sometimes it's the same people that they wanted to watch the show. Great. Sometimes it's not the people they wanted to watch the show. It's some totally different people who are watching it for some totally different reasons. They thought they were going to get some 17-year-old girls. They got 47-year-old men. What happened, right? So then they have to go back and do some research and they have to make a decision. Do we want to keep the market that we have, even though it's not really what we wanted? Or is the network putting pressure on us? Is, you know, the advertisers we want a certain way? So do we have to change the show to accommodate the desired market so we can get that? This is kind of what you're looking for. Now, you may attract the person that you want and they may give you everything you want, and that's how things have been working for you. So you don't have to really change much. But chances are that's probably not happening because you're watching this video. So I'm guessing that might not be what's going on. So what you're going to have to do, if that's not what the case, is you're going to have to see what your desired market is looking for. What is the guy that you actually want looking for? And do you have those things? Can you get those things? How do you do that? Well, it may sound a little strange, but let's talk about doing research. You see people all the time that are probably what you're looking for. But a lot of times they have a girlfriend. They have a wife. You might work with somebody like, oh my goodness, if he was not married, girl, if he wasn't married, you know, you have that kind of thing. But you never think to ask that person questions. Like, hey, where did you meet your wife? What caused you to want to be with her? What made you choose her over everybody else? Tell me a little bit about your wife. Hey, I'd like to get to know your wife. People don't really think about that. I'll tell you something that I used to do. And this gave me a lot of insight on really how to get women. This is back when I used to kind of deal with a lot of different women at one time. Don't judge me and I won't judge you. But what I started doing was I looked at the women that I wanted who had boyfriends. And I was like, man, this girl got a boyfriend, but that doesn't mean she has no value to me. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to actually talk to this girl and find out some stuff about her boyfriend. Find out where they met. Because now I can kind of figure out where I can meet girls like you. Find out, you know, some of the stuff that they do together. Some of the stuff he does. What did he do? Who is this dude? You know, even maybe get to know the person. You know, I might hang out with them with somebody else. Kind of get to know the dude a little bit. I know it may sound a little weird, but the reality is you're meeting people every day. You're chilling with people at work all the time. A lot of times you're asking your male friends questions about, yo, what do you like in a girl? All that kind of stuff. But these people aren't even your type half the time. You're never sitting here thinking about, wait a minute. Instead of saying, what do you like in a girl? Why not look at the girl you're actually dating? Because people lie, but their actions don't lie. They're with the girl. So why don't I look at the person that you're actually dating? Why don't I take a little bit of time out to get out in the world, look at the person that I would like to be with, you know, even if you see them in the mall, and just kind of take a look at the person that they're with, kind of take a look at the their interaction. It don't take much, you know, like just watching people, being out there and being observant. This will help you in a lot of things in life. But just sitting there watching people and getting to know them and getting to figure out what's happening in their life. This tells you what your market is looking for. When you see who they're dating, it's like, you know, these detergent companies and different type of people, they'll call people up and do surveys. They're like, hey, what detergent are you using right now? Somebody be like, I'm using Gain. And they're like, why are you using Gain? Can you tell us a little bit of why you're using it, why you chose Gain? I chose it because I like the fresh scent. There you go. Now you got some different things to help you develop your product, so maybe you can steal some of Gain's customers. Right? Now, because you talk to people, because you're watching, now you can kind of adjust what you're doing so that you can attract the market that you actually want. Because let's keep it real. There are people who like you and you know it. But half time you don't like them. That's not your desired market. So you have to figure out how to adjust what you're doing for the desired market. Because a lot of times you'll figure out that the girl that's dating the guy you really would have liked to be with isn't that much different from you. They have things in common with you. But a lot of times you don't know where to meet the guy while he's still single. You don't know what parts of yourself to emphasize to that guy to get him interested. And you don't know, you know, just his general network, you know, and how to get involved in that. There's a lot of different things that come into play, and all you got to do is start asking questions, observing people, and, you know, just figuring out, doing your research. What do these people like in a woman? Makes it easier on you. You got to realize you're always valuable. You're always worth something, but you're going to be worth different things to different people. And people are going to look at you a certain way based on what you project. And you have to do that knowing what result you want. If you're selling something, a good salesman will always let you know, will always figure out exactly what it is you want and show you how that product gives you what you want. That's kind of sales 101. But a lot of people don't do that in relationships because they don't see it as sales. They don't see that when they want something, or if they want somebody to want them, they have to project that. They have to project what that person is looking for and show them how they bring that to the table. And the only way you can do that is to know what that person is looking for. Hopefully I was able to help you. It's your man, Chaz Ellis. Make sure you like and subscribe and share this video with somebody else. Peace.